Hello, how are you? Everybody, welcome back to Reading Destination. And today we're going to repeat the first half of Rikki Tikki Tavi. I'm so sorry, I completely forgot that there was a problem with it. It was fine when we uploaded it, but I don't know what happened to it after that. So, just so you can have all the beginning of it, we're going to do it again, all right? So, part one of Rikki Tikki Tavi by Rudyard Kipling. This is the story of the great war that Rikki Tikki Tavi fought all by himself through the English family's house in India. Rikki Tikki was a mongoose with fur and a tail like a cat's, and a head like a weasel's. One day, a summer flood washed him out of the burrow where he lived with his father and mother and floated him, kicking and clucking, down a roadside ditch. He found a stick floating near him, and he held onto it until he fainted. When he revived, he was lying in the middle of a garden path, very wet indeed, and a little boy was saying, "Here's a dead mongoose. Let's have a funeral." "No," said his mother. "Let's take him in and dry him. Perhaps he isn't really dead." They took him into the house, where a big man picked him up and said he wasn't dead, just tired. So they wrapped him in cotton and warmed him over a little fire, and he opened his eyes and sneezed. Have you ever heard a kitten sneeze? That's what I think maybe his sneeze would sound like. "Now," said the big man, who was the boy's father, "don't frighten him, and we'll see what he'll do." It is the hardest thing in the world to frighten a mongoose, because he is full of curiosity from nose to tail. The motto of the mongoose family is "Go and find out." And Rikki Tikki was a true mongoose. He looked at the cotton, decided it wasn't good to eat, ran all around the table, sat up, scratched himself, and jumped on the boy's shoulder. "Don't be frightened, Teddy," said his father. "This is his way of making friends." "He tickles," said Teddy. Rikki Tikki snuffled at the boy's ear and climbed down to the floor where he sat rubbing his nose. "Is he so tame because we helped him?" asked Teddy's mother. "All mongooses are like that," said the husband. "If Teddy doesn't pick him up by the tail, he'll run in and out of the house all day long. Let's give him something to eat." They gave him a little piece of raw meat, which Rikki Tikki liked immensely. "There are more things to find out about in this house," he said to himself, "than all my family could find out in all their lives. I shall certainly stay and find out." He spent the day roaming around the house. He nearly drowned in the bathtub, put his nose in the ink on a desk, and burned it on the end of the man's cigar. When Teddy went to bed, Rikki Tikki climbed up too. Teddy's mother and father came in before they went to bed, and Rikki Tikki was awake on the pillow. "I don't like this," said Teddy's mother. "He might bite." "He won't," said the father. "Teddy's safer with that little animal than with a watchdog. If a snake came into his room," but Teddy's mother wouldn't think of anything so awful. Early in the morning, Rikki Tikki came to breakfast on the porch, riding on Teddy's shoulder, and they gave him banana and some boiled egg, and he sat on all their laps, one after the other. Then Rikki Tikki went out into the backyard to see what was to be seen. It was a large yard with rose bushes as big as houses, lime and orange trees, clumps of bamboos. Rikki Tikki scuttled up and down the garden, snuffling here and there until he heard very sad voices in the thorn bush. It was Darzy, the tailor bird, and his wife. They had made a beautiful nest by pulling 2 big leaves together and stitching up the edges, and had filled the inside with fluff. "What's the matter?" asked Rikki Tikki. "We are miserable," said Darzy. "One of our babies fell out of the nest yesterday and Nag ate him." Said Rikki Tikki. "That is very sad, but I am a stranger here. Who is Nag?" Darzy and his wife cowered down in the nest without answering, for from the thick grass at the foot of the bush there came a low hiss, a hard, cold sound. Then, inch by inch, out of the grass rose up the head of Nag, the big cobra. He was 5 feet long from tongue to tail. When he had lifted 1/3 of himself clear of the ground, he swayed like a dandelion tuft in the wind, and he looked at Rikki Tikki with wicked snake's eyes that never changed their expression, whatever the snake may be thinking. "Who is Nag?" he said. "I am Nag. Look and be afraid." Rikki Tikki was afraid for a minute, but it is impossible for a mongoose to stay frightened for very long. Rikki Tikki had never met a live cobra before, but his mother had fed him on dead ones, and he knew that a mongoose's job is to fight and eat snakes. Nag knew that too, and at the bottom of his cold heart, he was afraid. "Well," said Rikki Tikki, "I'm looking, but do you think it is all right for you to eat baby birds?" Nag was watching for movement in the grass behind Rikki Tikki. He knew that mongooses in the garden meant death sooner or later for him and his family. He dropped his head a little and said, "Let's talk. You eat eggs. Why shouldn't I eat birds?" "Behind you! Look behind you!" said Darzy. Rikki Tikki jumped up in the air as high as he could go, and just under him whizzed the head of Nagiana, Nag's wicked wife. She had crept up behind him as he was talking to kill him, and he heard her hiss as the stroke missed. He came down almost across her back and bit. But he did not bite long enough, and he jumped away from the whisking tail, leaving Nagiana torn and angry. "Wicked, wicked Darzy," said Nag, lashing up as high as he could reach toward the nest. But Darzy had built it out of reach of snakes. Rikki Tikki felt his eyes getting hot and angry, and he sat back on his tail and hind legs like a little kangaroo and chattered with rage. But Nag and Nagiana had disappeared in the grass. Rikki Tikki did not follow them, for he did not feel sure he could manage 2 snakes at once. So he trotted off to the gravel path near the house and sat down. Rikki Tikki was just a young mongoose, and he was very pleased that he had managed to escape an attack from behind. When Teddy came running down the path, Rikki Tikki was ready to be petted. But just as Teddy was leaning down, something squirmed in the dust, and a tiny voice said, "Be careful, I am death." It was Karate, a little brown snakeling that lies on the dusty ground in India and whose bite is as dangerous as the cobra's. Well, I hope you enjoyed that part. And be sure to go back and look at all the other parts that are actually still there. All right? So be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so that you're notified every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday whenever there's a new story posted. And be sure to share. Share, share, share. Bye-bye now.